Do you think it's hard to experience that level of joy and that awareness around service without going through profound pain yourself?
Ooh, that's such a great question. And I have two answers, yes and no. I think those are the only two answers you can have, right? I grew up a very happy boy. I was running around really this attests to what you say so much, which is like, our 5-year-old self and just always remembering how, and not everyone was the same, but for me, I was so joyful and so happy and so curious and everything was just so interesting and intriguing, and the colors were so bright and the scents were so just potent, and I was just so engaged. And I think that when we come into this reality for the stretching of our souls, so that we can actually find that bliss and to just experience that dance, because life is a dance, and if you don't learn how to dance, it's going to be a clunky existence. And if you learn how to dance, it can be beautiful. Another cool analogy that I like is that when we're born, we're given a rock and a chisel, and it's our job to build the most beautiful sculpture. This morning, I was in such a crappy mood, honestly, Ginni. Like I was trying so hard. I mean, I woke up, and I don't know if anyone else that's listening has any weird thing where they're like, why does technology bother me, get under my skin so much? It's such a blessing to be able to stick a box up to my head and whisper across the world to my uncle in Switzerland, and yet I'm mad because it's taking 2 seconds for it to connect. Right? I don't know what's up with that, but for some weird reason, it bothers me. So this morning I was having a bunch of technology snafus, and I had to run to the store and grab an extra pair of earbuds and all this stuff, and I was not feeling it. And so on my way to the store, luckily, my good friend Jess, I just did a mindfulness 6 or 7 week coaching thing with her. And on my way, I was just like, look at the tree. There is a tree. What if that was the first tree that you've ever seen before? Look at the gas station. Man, that's a bright gas station. Why do they make the colors so bright? Why does it look like that? And not attaching all of these stories to every single thing that I was seeing. And by just being in that particular experience and looking at things, I actually started to remember things the way that I remembered them when I was 5, when I was 6, and when I was 7. And I blame that on you because I listened to that episode right before then. So it's kind of your fault that I had such a good day after having such a bad day.
Right. Well, I have to say, what you said there was so beautiful, because I think that childlike essence, exactly what you explained there, looking at that tree, you look at it from the lens of curiosity, appreciation, wonder, and gratitude. And I think they are 4 ingredients to really anchor you into the present moment. And as a child, there's, children do things for reason no other than doing it. Like, let's go outside and jump in a puddle. Why does there need to be a reason? Let's just go do it. And I love that sense of exactly what you're talking about, being in the experience and being in that present moment. And I have to say, Kat, to you too, I had a bit of a topsy-turvy today as well. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to power through. Maybe I'll cancel this. And you're like, oh, come on, let's do it. I'm like, I'm so glad that you did, because I'm already feeling uplifted by this conversation. So thank you, Nathen. I really do want to also ask you as well. You talked about how you grew up a very happy boy, even though that you moved out on your own at 17. What did your parents think of that experience when you were like, okay, I'm going to leave? What did they say? What were their thoughts?
You're a really good interviewer, because that is an insecurity that I have. Growing up, I was one of the only kids who I knew who had a really good upbringing. And so I'm a little quiet about that, because I don't want people to say, oh yeah, well, you had it so good, that's why, right? I had really supportive parents. We weren't wealthy. My dad was born in another country. My mom had a challenging upbringing. And I always used to ask my mom, how is it that you had such a challenging upbringing and you raised us so well? And she said, well, I just looked at what happened to me and I did the opposite.
Exactly. Learn what not to do. Right, 101 parenting. Right.
So my mom actually flew down with me to Hollywood and helped me take a look at the school. And we only had one day when we were down there because she actually won tickets from the radio show. She called in and they gave her tickets to go like watch a finals basketball game. So we were only there for one night, and it was a Sunday and they were closed. And I was like, oh, we came all the way down here, and I'm not going to get to look at the school. And my mom just looked around and she's like, if we have to climb this fence, we're getting in. And she just found a way. She walked around the back. She looked in a window. She peered in. She knocked. She was like, hey, come here. And the person looked at her like she was crazy. And, basically we got let in. And only because of my mom's tenacity did we actually get to check out the school. So, my parents were really supportive. And at the same time, I have friends who have had such challenging upbringings. They've had to work so hard. It's like, if you have somebody who had to work really hard to lose a bunch of weight and then they're fit, that person has so much more, reference experience to how to work than someone who just, had to do a little. And so those people who have had a lot of struggle and a lot of challenge, I feel like they just have so much more grit. And so it's almost in a funny way, a gift. We have two choices. Choice number one, victim mentality. Say, oh yeah, you're that way because you had it good and you didn't have to this and that. And, you did struggle, but you struggled later and you had like this foundation. Or you can say, you know what? I maybe have more tenacity than most people because my challenges were tougher than most people's. And therefore I have, a step ahead of others.
You talked about, how you kind of shy away from talking about your parents. I'm curious to know, did you share with your parents that you were homeless?
Oh, yeah. What I did was I uploaded the video, and right before I hit publish of the episode of my film series where I talked about being homeless, I thought, you know what? My parents should probably know about this.
Wow.
So I called my mom.
Yep.
Told her. She was pretty mad at me. She said, you literally could have called me and I would have found a place for you to stay. And I was like, yeah, Mom, but there's not like an extra room or anything like that. And she's like, yeah. The main thing for me was, and that's an important distinction too, is that there is a difference between like someone being fully like homeless, like addicted to drugs, out on the street, really suffering and stress. Like I did suffer and I did struggle, but it was mostly a mental rebound and trying to figure my life out because I was so lost from what had happened before that. So it was really like a ripple effect of all the abuse that I had gone through, and I was ashamed and I was, uncertain and I was lost. And so that's why I didn't have it in me to tell my parents about either of the two experiences. And so for both of those videos, when I uploaded them, I had to say, I should probably call my parents. And so I did that. I called my parents. Called my mom. She was mad at me about the homeless thing. I called my dad. It was a very interesting conversation about the abuse. But that was one of the tougher situations in my life.
Hey y'all, I hope you enjoyed this video. The key takeaways from today are: have a childlike curiosity. Everything that you see, just experience it as if you're seeing it for the very first time. Also, as a reminder, life is really just a pendulum between two things: joy and sadness, challenge and bliss, good and bad, good feelings and bad feelings. So when you're in that bliss mode, just feel really grateful. And when you're in that challenging aspect of things, just look for the opportunities, look for the wins, look for the lessons. And finally, people with tougher upbringings, they can have more tenacity. So if you had a really tough upbringing, just remember that. And if you had a great upbringing, be grateful for your sturdy foundations. Ultimately, we have two choices. One is victim mentality and the other is abundance mentality. If you enjoyed this video, this is a one part of a multi-part series. So I'm going to go ahead and link the other videos here at the end in a few seconds and also in the description below.